Alright, so here we are with John Bellish, it's pronounced Bellish, right? Who is the CrossFit J Member of the Month for May. And I'm a little late on this one, but so we had Lizzie last month and that was kind of serious, I felt like.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go a little more on the opposite end of the spectrum this month and do some goofy questions, but we'll start sort of serious, I guess. So John just told me about his job, and his job's kind of fascinating. So I guess kind of give us, in a nutshell, what do you do, who do you work for?
So I work for an NGO in Broomfield called Oceans Beyond Piracy, and we help coordinate the international response to Somali piracy. We work with the new Somali government, as well as the United Nations, shipping industry associations, and different foreign ministries to essentially, like I said, help coordinate the response. Everything from military coordination to capacity building in Somalia to kind of the prosecution and imprisonment issue. And my role is focusing on the legal and economic issues related to Somali piracy. And
so you studied law, right?
Yeah, I studied law at DU.
Okay. And then talk to me a little bit about like some of the challenges you guys encounter. It's kind of interesting how you have to approach the situation in Somalia a little bit differently than you would, say, somebody in America that's committing a crime.
Right, so the really eye-opening thing for me, especially focusing on the kind of prosecution and imprisonment aspect of piracy, is that these guys, their lives in Somalia are so hard that they're basically unpunishable. So there are a lot of stories where a Somali pirate will get picked up by the French Navy and tried in France, and the European Union has a law essentially that says you can't repatriate somebody into a country where their human rights might be violated, and Somalia certainly fits into that category. So they'll go through their trial, they'll get imprisoned, or they'll get convicted and sentenced to, let's say, 20 years in jail. And then when they have an opportunity to kind of say some final words at the end of the trial, they'll stand up and they'll thank the French government for giving them 3 meals a day in jail, and for all the wonderful treatment they've gotten, and they'll talk about how excited they are to learn French in their 20 years in jail and then come out and start their life in France. And so it really puts things into perspective how kind of the difference between the ways people in the poorest parts of the world live and kind of the way people in the West live make these guys kind of effectively unpunishable, which is, it was something that I had never even expected to have to encounter when I started the job.
So it sounds like, I mean, from what you've described, you guys are self-funded, so you don't do a ton of fundraising, but how is there any way that we can support your organization?
Well, if you see any pirates rowing around Denver, I guess let me know. Other than that, we are kind of thinking about starting a little more local outreach and kind of awareness building. So we might do something of a fundraiser, or maybe some kind of activity to raise awareness. And if that happens, definitely post something on the whiteboard at the gym.
So, very good. Let's see. Now we'll go for some more lighthearted stuff. I think you've traveled a lot. I feel like I've heard you talk about traveling to the Dominican Republic and other places. Kind of well, to recap some of your travels, you have traveled a lot, right? Yeah,
so I've traveled a pretty good bit in Central and South America. Mexico, DR, Chile, Argentina, and then I spent a little bit of time in Uruguay, been to Turkey, gosh, and then all over Europe, well, mostly Northern Europe, Denmark, the Netherlands, areas like that.
And then give us like a weird scenario you've had abroad. We've all had one, but give us.
This is a classic. So I was a Spanish major in college, and I was studying abroad in Chile. I was living in a town called Viña del Mar, which is like a beach town, about an hour and a half northwest of Santiago. So me and one of my buddies, we go into Santiago for the weekend to kind of just, party. And I don't know how many of you have been out in developing countries, but the way it works is basically a long strip of clubs, and there are like very aggressive club promoters outside of each one of them. They're like, come in here, we'll give you a free drink, whatever, no cover, blah, blah, blah. So we walk down the street, pass about 5 or 6 of these guys, and just randomly, whatever, we We take one of these guys up on his offer, walk into the club, slowly realize that this isn't just any club, it's actually, to use kind phrasing, a house of ill repute. So we're sitting at the bar, just kind of trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And these two lovely Chilean women come and sit next to us, talk us up a little bit, and you know, whatever, we buy beers. We ask them what they want to drink, and they say they just want a Coke. We're like, that's a little weird. We get it for them. We get the check, and they have charged us $150 for each of the Cokes that these women bought. Kind of look around, it kind of becomes clear where we actually are. And so we just hightail it out the front door and end up getting chased down the block by a very aggressive employee, we'll say. So that was definitely a highlight, and let that be a lesson to everybody.
Avoid Chilean whorehouses.
Words to live by.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit about CrossFit stuff. What's the hardest workout you've done?
The hardest workout I've done is Chelsea.
Chelsea. Tell us what that one is.
That is 1 round every minute on the minute for 30 minutes of Cindy. So 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 20 air squats? 15 air squats. And that was just, I realized at about a minute 11 that it was going to be a struggle, and it was definitely a marathon of pain from then on out.
Oh, Chelsea. All right, and then give us who's your athlete crush for the CrossFit Games?
So I have been known to watch CrossFit Games on a lazy Saturday afternoon from time to time, but I hadn't really fully developed a CrossFit crush. So I did it in the last 30 minutes based entirely on the women's official CrossFit Games photos, and the hands-down winner of that contest is Annie Thorstadter. I encourage everybody to go on the CrossFit Games website, because her official CrossFit Games photo is her swinging at the top of an American kettlebell swing on this like rugged cliff with this like 50-foot wave breaking behind her. And seriously, it's like the most epic thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Iceland Annie, it's the crush. Let's see. What's the best, what's your best song for getting fired up before a WOD?
So really my athletic life pre-CrossFit was basketball. So I played little D3 hoops. So basically anything hip-hop kind of brings me back to that like pre-game locker room atmosphere that we had. But if I had to pick one, I gotta go with old school classic and just say Juicy.
Juicy, nice.
You know, it's just, you can't go wrong.
Okay. Notorious. And then, unrelated to CrossFit, best last book that you read?
So I'm in the middle of a couple of good ones right now, but the last thing that I read was I reread Orwell's 1984.
Nice.
Like 6 months ago for the first time, since I had to read it in like 9th grade or something.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was like your perspective changes a lot between whatever 16 or 17, however old you are in 9th grade, and now. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Very good. All right, John, member of the month. Thanks, man.
Boom. Thank you.